Welcome friends. For today's lecture, we'll see 8051 architecture and memory organization. Okay, so architecture is very important thing of about the 8051. So what architecture tells you? Architecture tells you what are the internal structure of 8051 and all. Okay, and next thing is memory organization. So how you can handle different memory segments and different registers in the 8051 and what are the locations of those particular memory locations we are going to see in this lecture. Okay, we'll start with the lecture. So very first slide we'll have is an architecture slide. Okay, so here it is an architecture of a general block diagram or architecture of an 8051. So what it contains actually. So if you look at this, so it's having 4 ports. So where are the ports? Here there are 4 ports. Okay, so these are the 4 ports. We have port 0, port 1, port 2, port 3. Okay, we'll start with the oscillator circuitry. So oscillator, we have here a crystal oscillator, 2 capacitor of 33 picofarad. So these capacitors of 33 picofarad, and again this capacitor is of 33 picofarad, and the crystal is of 11.0592 megahertz. So in the last lecture also I have explained why it is 11.0592 megahertz, because internally in the oscillator circuitry there is a divide by 12 network. So there is divide by 12 network available internally within this oscillator circuitry, so that for the CPU it takes only 1.085 microsecond for each machine cycle instruction execution. Okay, the CPU is there. Then there is a bus structure available. So this is a bus. Okay, so bus. Okay, so this bus will control all the external peripherals of a microcontroller. So we have interrupt controller. So in all together 6 interrupts are there. Okay, so we have external interrupts available here. So there are 6 interrupts. So we can use it on chip ROM and ROM for a code. So on ROM the code is stored. Okay, on chip RAM is there. That is RAM is available. So and there are 2 timers for 8051, and for 8051 there are 2 timers, and for 8052 there are 3 timers. Okay, so we have here a timer interrupt control pins. Then we have a serial port. So this is again RxD and TxD. RxD stands for receive data, receive, and TxD stands for transmit. So this is receive and transmit is used for reception and transmission of data towards different peripherals. And there are 4 IO ports, that is P0, P1, P2 and P3. So this port 0 and port 1 specifically, so this is these two pins, port 0 and port 1 are used as a address and data. So it is a port 0 and port 2 is used, not port 1. Port 0 and port 2 is used for address and a data. So there is a multiplex address and a data bus available for this particular two things. Okay, then we have a bus control logic. Whether you are transmitting a data or an address, that will be controlled over the bus control logic. So this is the basic architectural block diagram of 8051. So again I will repeat the things. We have oscillator. Okay, we have oscillator. Then I will highlight the things here. Uh, we have oscillator here. Then we have CPU. Then interrupt control. Then on chip ROM for a code, on chip RAM. Then a timer block is there. Then serial port block is there. Then we have IO port block is there. That is for IO connection, and there is a bus control block is there for bus control. And separate bus is available to connect all the block to the CPU. Okay, CPU is main ALU. So this is also known as an ALU, arithmetic logic unit is available in a CPU. So this is a block diagram of 8051. Okay, so we'll move forward now. So these are the specifications of the 8051. What do you mean by this flash memory in application programming? So what is in application programming? In the in the first lecture I have discussed about in application programming and in system programming, that is ISP and IAP. So these are the two terms. These two terms are very important in case of 8051. Here this sorry Here it is a P89V51RD2. Program memory consists of 64 kilobytes of a block code. So it is having 64 KB of a block for this particular chip, like P89V51RD2. Okay, so 89V51RD2 is a flash programmable chip. So there are three methods of erasing of programming of 8051. So there are three methods for erasing this program. So method one is flash may be programmed or erased by the end user application by calling a low level routines through common entry point, that is IAP. So IAP stands for in application programming. So you can program or you can erase the program while running the code. So by calling low level routines. So there are some low level routines available. So we can call those low level routine for deleting the code from the IC itself. Then on the on-chip ISP bootloader. So ISP is in-system programming. So ISP stands for in-system programming. Bootloader may be invoked. This ISP bootloader will in turn call low-level routines. Again, low-level routines will be called by ISP bootloader through the same common entry point that can be used by end user application. So there is an entry point for each and every program where the program is situated and where to load the program and on which particular memory location the program has to be loaded. The flash may be programmed or erased using a parallel method by using a commercially available EEPROM programmer. So there are another option available, that is EEPROM programmer is available. By using the EEPROM programmer, we can flash the program. So these are the three methods they can use for in application programming. In the first method, the program itself can erase this. So that is dependent on a program. This is a serial method. So serial port is used, and this is a parallel method. Okay, so third method is a parallel method. So we have three program methods for flash, that is in application programming. Okay, so next thing we'll see what is a bootloader. Bootloader is a program where some instructions are written and which is having all the headers, like whatever we are writing. Suppose how a microcontroller will understand, if you write move a comma hash 05h, then it has to load that 05h into the accumulator. So how the microcontroller will understand? So for understanding that, it's having a bootloader. In that a bootloader, there is a fixed predefined code available, and all the instructions are written and everything is available in the bootloader. So bootloader, who is providing the bootloader? The company or manufacturer will provide the bootloader, and the bootloader job is to receive the program from IDE and then dump it into the microcontroller hardware and then start on executing the programs over the hardware. Okay. Next is a boot block. Boot block is very important. That is a bootloader block. So boot block is a separate from each flash program. The user program calls the common entry point in the boot block with appropriate parameters to accomplish the desired operation. The boot block operation includes erase user code, program the user code, program security bits. So these are the things boot block is using. So we'll discuss these things, and boot block hex file you can found on this particular thing. So what do you mean by erasing user code? So the thing is erasing user code means you can erase the particular program. So all the microcontroller chips are reprogrammable. So reprogrammable is the facility available with microcontroller chips. Then program the user code. So again, programming is available with this particular chip, and program security bit. So security bit means what? So suppose if you are writing some program and if you are commercializing that particular chip, then what will happen? Someone buys your that product, and what he do? He does reverse engineering. So in the reverse engineering, he can found your code. So he can read a hex file and he can start producing their own chips by using your hex file. He will not waste the time for writing the code and writing the program. Then what will happen? You have already invested a time for writing the code, writing the program, simulating, testing and everything. And the other manufacturer, what he will do, he will just buy your product and he just do a reverse engineering and he will launch his new product with a low cost, because he has not given a time for that particular thing. So definitely the cost of that his product is less. So for that there is a security bits available with a microcontroller. So once you enable the security bit, So these bits are also known as an lock bits. So once you enable the lock bits, or once you enable the security bits, your program from that particular 8051 chip cannot be readable. So it is a fixed one. So no one can read the program from that particular 8051 chip. So for that, there is a security bits available. So I will show you how you can use the security bit to lock your code. So there are different programmers available. There are different softwares available for programming. I will show you those softwares in this lecture only. So that is for security bits, and how you can configure the security bits I will show you with the software. Okay, so next thing is power on reset. So what will happen when you reset your microcontroller? After reset, the device will enter either into a soft ICE. So soft ICE stands for software in circuit emulator mode if previously enabled via the ISP command. So there is a command available for this particular soft ICE. So in circuit emulator, so in circuit emulator will execute its own programs or attempt to autobot to the ISP bootloader. So second thing is ISP bootloader means it will wait for the instructions from the serial port, and it will start loading the code from in the code block. If this autobot is not successful within about 400 milliseconds, the device will begin execution of user code. When you reset, every time it checks for whether the programmer wants to program the microcontroller chip or not. So it is the checking time for this, it is 400 milliseconds. So 400 millisecond is the time over which which your microcontroller will always checks whether user has to be programming that thing or not. Okay, if user is programming that thing, then it will receive over the serial port, that is autobot. Baud rate is 9600 for that, and if user is not programming that thing, then it start executing the predefined code on the microcontroller. So what is brownout reset? So brownout reset is a term. It is potentially dangerous state which occurs at the moment the microcontroller is being turned off, or a power supply voltage drops the lowest level due to electronic noise. So here it is. It shows the brownout reset diagram. So here we have a constant 5 volt input is required for microcontroller, and whenever the input drops down some level, so this is my level. Specifically this level is 3.3 volt. So whenever it drops to below 3.3 volt, what will happen? The microcontroller will not execute from that particular thing. So it will go on resetting your microcontroller. So here is a power supply control, and the power supply control will send the reset command to the microcontroller. So after that, the program counter, that is PC contents, are 0x0000h. So whenever the brownout reset occurs, so brownout reset occurs when there is a voltage surge or voltage drop due to some electrical noise, and then the microcontroller reset itself, and it loads the program counter with the value 0x0000h. So this is about brownout reset. Okay. Next is in-system programming. So we have in application programming and we have in-system programming as well. So in-system programming, in this in-system programming, what is there? So in-system programming is performed without removing the microcontroller from the system. So with the same board, we can keep the microcontroller and we can program it. For the in-system programming, we require 5 pins. So we require VCC, ground, TXD, that is serial transmission, RXD, that is P3.0 and 3.1, and then reset pin. So we need to hold the reset for 400 milliseconds. Okay, so again 400 milliseconds is the time. Why? Because we have already learned that 400 milliseconds it takes for auto baud rate communication. In-system programming facility consists of a series of internal hardware resources coupled with the internal firmware to facilitate the remote programming of a controller over the serial port. The ISP function uses 5 different pins. One is a VDD, VSS, TXD, RXD, and a reset. So these are the 5 pins required for in-system programming. Okay. Next thing, using an in-system programming, what the thing we need to do is we need to require to set up a baud rate first. So we need to set up a baud rate first for in-system programming. Then this is set by using character U. So first character will be sent as a U. Then ISP firmware provides echo. If U has been sent, then it receives the U again with the microcontroller. Whenever the U is received with the microcontroller, then what will happen? It enters into a boot block. So once the connection is established, the ISP firmware is ready to accept the hex file. So here it is in a hex file format. So what the hex file will contain? So hex file always contains this format. So very first thing in the hex file is NN. So NN stands for, it represents the number of data bytes in the record. So very first point is colon. So every hex file will start with a colon, and then NN is there. NN represents the number of bytes in the record. Then AAA are these are the string represents the address of the first byte in the record. RR represents the string indicates of record type, which format you are using, that is hex80 format, or whether you are using Intel format or any other format, that is represented with RR. 00 is the data record from 01 indices with the end of file. So DD stands for the data. So it is actually a program code. Okay, and CC is a checksum. So checksum means we have parity check or any other checksum is available in the CC block. So every hex file will start with a colon and then NN 4 times A, that is strings represent the address of the first byte, and then RR DD. So DD is the data and CC is the checksum. So remember this thing about hex file. Here it is an example of hex file. It uses a user code memory where NN is the number of bytes of the program, A is the address of the program, DD is the data bytes, and CC is the checksum. So here we can have first line is a colon. Okay, then we have NN is the number of bytes in the program. So here which represents the number of bytes in the program. Then there are 4 zeros. So this is the first address of a program counter. Then these are the opcodes and operands of the code. Okay, then the CC is there, that is the checksum. Okay, so this is the code actually, hex file. We will see hex file while programming, how the hex file looks like and all. Okay. Alright, so we'll show you how the bootloader block is there and which are the different software tools used for this particular microcontroller programming. So I have installed few of the softwares. So you can use this. So I have a programmer known as XP Pro Universal Programmer available. So I can open this Universal Programmer available. So this is the Universal Programmer XP Pro V8851. So I will show you the programmer. Okay, here I have the XP Pro Programmer. So this is a Universal Programmer. So this supports, you can have, this is a Chinese product. So the name is TL8662 Plus, and the costing of this product is around 10,000 rupees, and this supports around 3,000 ICs and 3,000 different IC list, and also it supports different memory chips, and this is a universal programmer. So it's having a top header as well. So I will show you in the box what it contains. So the box looks like this. So it is a TLIC2 programmer. Then we have here the cable. Okay, the USB cable. On one side there is a USB D type connector, and on other side there is a USB connector. And we have again there are different pins configurations. So there is a port functionality available. So we can attach this to a port. Here the port pins are available. So we can attach and we can have different IC programming over these particular serial lines. Okay, so there's for ISP. Okay, so this is about the one programmer. This is TL XP Pro. So I will show you the softwares afterwards. So which are the softwares it's going to use. Also I have another programmer, and that is specifically designed for only a 8051. So here this is the programmer only specifically for only 8051. So we have here either we can have 8051 chip, 40 pin chip, and second slot is available here. It is a 20 pin chip, that is 2051 or anything. So only 8051 or 89S series is supported only for a microcontroller. So this is low cost, and this you get it for around 1,000 rupees for just programming of 8051 and all. Okay, so there are two different programmers. Again for this also there is a power supply and there is a USB available. So directly you can connect it over the USB line. Okay, so this is about two programmers. Now we will see what are the different software tools required or for the programming. So we'll switch over the I will switch over to the thing. We'll see what are the different software tools required for the programming. I will switch over to the slide now. Okay, so here it is the software for XG Pro V8.51. So this software is for this universal programmer. So you can have a list of ICs here. So if you click on all, so you can reduce, I can delete. So you can have a different list of ICs. More than 3,000 ICs are there, and you can have a list of companies like from Sharp, Siemens, then Fashion, SST, ST. So many ICs are there. Like we have Hyundai ICs are there. The Unix is there. So this is universal one. The cost of that is around 9,000 to 10,000 rupees. Then we can have different ROMs, flash, MCUs. Okay, so we need to select first the thing which IC you are going to program. Suppose if you are using 89V51, then select this 89V51 and then select the IC type as well, whether you are using SOIC type or whether you are using DIP type. So select this first. So once you select it, it loads here the IC. Then under that, whether you are using zip socket or ICSP socket. So as I told, there are different pins available. So that is ICSP socket. And here, this is a very important thing, that erase block. Okay, pin detect, erase before, verify after, then skip off and check ID and AutoSync. Okay, so these are the things. Then also we can have a configuration. So here the by default configuration is no lock bit. So you can lock your IC. So there are three different configurations that you can lock your IC. As I told you, there is a lock bit available for security purpose. So in this way, you can lock your IC using no lock bit B1 or lock bit LB1, LB2, lock bit LB1, LB2, LB3. So there are three different securities available, like single no security with single security, two layer, three layer security. Okay, so my recommendation is don't lock it, because once it is locked, the IC is not reprogrammed. Then you will get a device information, like which device you have selected, then how you need to fix your device on the chip, so 40-pin chip socket and all. So that will be available here. Then you need to load here a program. So you need to open this and you need to load a hex file. In the last lecture, we have seen about LED interfacing. So I will load the same hex file. So I think the program is available on my desktop. If available, it's not available. Okay, let it be. So from here we can load the IC, and there is a program button available. So we need to hit just a program button to program this particular IC. Here it is a erase button. So we can erase this as well. So you can fill the RAM, or we can have a view, or we can read the IC. So many options are available with this particular thing. Okay. So this is one software. Another software is known as Excel Pro. So whatever the another module, that is the Indian make module I have shown, for that it uses Excel Pro programmer. So we'll open that. WL Pro, that is a wheeler.com, and this is only for this. So we can select this enhanced one. So then we can have a demo mode. So here we have only for 8051. So you can look at only the chips available, that is 8051. So if you go on the device, only 8051 series and some of the EPROMs are available. Only microchip, SST, Atmel and Bitbot. Only these particular ICs are available. Okay. So we can select the IC, again Atto, blank, read, program, verify, protect. So under a protect, if I click on a protect, then the IC will be like locked. So under the configuration bit, we have that protect option available. Like here again the four options, no memory lock, then again LB1, LB2, LB1, LB2, LB3, LB1, LB2, LB3. So these are the four options available. So we can choose any of the options here from the configuration bits. So we can have a settings as well, auto baud rate, erase and protect. Once you click on a protect, so every IC is protected. So also we can have a auto enable serial number. So we can put the serial number for the IC as well, so that the same program will load in the same serial numbered IC. So that is again more security you can provide for your programming. Okay, so this is the another software we have, that is Wheeler Programmer. And if you want to use directly through a Keil, if you want to use directly through a Keil, then we have another software known as FlashMagic. So I'll open this FlashMagic again. So I will show you the bootloader, where the bootloader is in. So this is from NXP. Okay. So this is a Flashmatic, and again we need to select the devices. So it supports all the scale devices like NXP devices. So you can select 89V51RD2 here. Also we can have a COM port, from which COM port you have connected your programmer. Put your crystal oscillator file to browse this, and then again we have verify. Look, here are the security bits. 4 security bits are available. So the same thing is available. So under ISP block we have a bootloader. So if I click on a start bootloader, then it goes to a boot block, boot vector code, and boot block, read blocks. So these things are available under the ISP options. Then under advanced options, we have hardware configurations, security bits, then runtime and timeout, miscellaneous and all. So these things are available for the Flashmatic. So these are the different software tools used for programming of the 8051. Okay. Okay, then we'll see some memory organization. So here it is a memory organization of 8051. So what is there inside this memory organization? So change the color for the highlighter so that it's visible for you. Yeah. So here these are the IO ports. So again, these are located in the memory. So we have IO ports, timer, serial communication, timer 2, interrupts, then EEPROM memory available, and this is known as an SFR. So whatever the things you are receiving here, timers, interrupts, serial communication, timer 1, then we have IO port. So these are SFR. SFR stands for special function registers. So this SFR stands for special function registers. Special function registers. So all these ports like port 0, port 1, port 3, timer, serial communication, interrupts, these are having addresses. So memory addresses are available for all. Like we have accumulator address, we have port 0 address, we have port 1 address. So each and every registers are having address in the memory. So here it is a RAM structure. We have a general purpose RAM and we have a CPU is attached with this. So here it is a memory block of 8051. So we'll see in detail memory. So as you can look at this particular diagram, so this gives you a memory organization. So starting with address 0.00 to FF, so it will have a 7F, that is 128 bytes of a memory. Okay, so it is having 128 bytes. So we have bank 0 to bank 3. So till 1F it is a bank 3. So we have like 4 banks. So each bank contains 8 registers. That's why 32 general purpose registers. 32 general purpose registers are available in this particular bank. So we can use PSW to change these particular banks. So PSW stands for program status word register. That is program status word register. Okay, so PSW is responsible for changing the banks, and these are the general purpose banks available. So total 32 registers are there for general purpose banks. Then we have a bit addressable area from 20 to 2F. So bit addressable means we can specifically consider this 20 bit. Either we can set it 1, set it, or we can clear it. So this is a bit addressable. And from 30 to 7F we have a general purpose registers again. So from 30 to 7F we have general purpose register. Over 7F like 80. So from 80 to FF, okay, from 80 to FF we have this is are the SFRs. Okay, there is 128 locations used for SFRs. Like we have P0 is having 80, SP, that is stack pointer, is located at 81, DPL, that is data pointer lower byte, is located at 82, data pointer higher byte is located at 83. Also PCON, that is power control register, is 87, timer control is 88, TMOD is 89, and so on. So these are the different SFRs available, and port 1 is 90, port 2 is A0, port 3 is B0, then IP is available at 80, B6, B register is there at F0, accumulator is available at E0. So whenever you load with the memory E0, that data will be loaded into the accumulator only. When you load the data into F0, then that data will be loaded into B register. So like this are available, and above that we have additional memory block, that is 120 bytes of 128 bytes are free. Okay, so like 128 bytes for this, 128 bytes for this, and 128 bytes for this. So this is a memory organization of 8051. Okay, so this memory organization is very important. So we need to draw very good memory locations, and you need to remember these memory locations as well. So this is important, starting with 00, then 07, 08 to 0F, 10 to 17, 16 to 1F, 20 to 2F, 30 to 7F, and above 80 to FF. These are the general purpose RAM. Okay, so like we have special function, and after that we have additional memory block. Alright, so this is a special function registers. As we have seen from 80 onwards to FF, we have a special function registers, and these are the registers located at that particular memory locations. Like we have accumulator at E0, F0, we have B register and all. Okay, so these are all 8-bit registers. Now we can see some programming about this. So we'll switch over the programming mode. Start. All right. So we'll have how we can load the data into different RAM locations from bank 0 to bank 3. So for loading the data into the different bank locations, we need to use PSW. Okay, so PSW is responsible for loading the data into the different RAM locations. So I will draw the PSW first. So for drawing the PSW, I need to draw 8-bit register. Okay, so we draw it first. Okay, so first flag is parity flag, then dash we have overflow flag, then we have RS0, then we have RS1, then we have used for future use, that is F0, then we have auxiliary carry flag, and then CY. So this segment is known as this is PSW 0.0, this is 0.1. So this bit is PSW 0.2 is there, PSW 0.3, PSW 0.4, PSW 0.5, PSW 0.6, and PSW 0.7. Okay, so this RS1 and RS0 are responsible for bank selection. So we can write that bank selection, that is RS0 is there and RS1, sorry, so we need to first write RS1 and then write RS0. Change it pane. RS1 and RS0, and then the bank number. So bank. So when we load 00, the bank 0 gets selected. When we load 01, then bank 1 gets selected. When we load 10, bank 2 gets selected. When we load 11, then bank 3 gets selected. For loading the data, we need to use the instruction known as setb PSW 0.3, or we can write setb PSW 0.4, or for clearing it, so instruction is clear PSW 0.3, clear PSW 0.4. Okay, so these are the things we need to use while programming this thing. Okay, all right, so we can have the program here. Okay, how we can load the data from different bank locations, bank 0 to bank 3. So we can use these instructions at setb PSW 0.3, setb PSW 0.4, and clear PSW 0.3, clear PSW 0.4. So these are the instructions used for writing the data over the different memory locations. So we'll see actual programming of this. So I will open a Kale and I will show you the real-time programming, how we can write the code for this. Okay, I will just minimize this. I will create a folder. I will create a program as a folder. I will open a Kale. Okay, project, new project. So select the directory. Give a name as a program. Save it. Then I need to select the chip legacy device 8089C51.
Like this, click OK. I'm writing assembly code, so no new file. Then I will type org in a capital letter. I will type org 4 times 0h. Both capital and small will work. We'll save this particular file, program.psm. Okay, then I will type main. Okay, so what are the things I need to load is I need to load some data into all the bank registers. So if I write move a comma hash 01, we can load directly immediate data. Move r0 comma hash 01h, so that will be loaded into the bank 0. So this is specifically for bank 0. So by default the bank 0 gets selected. So you can write like this instruction as well for clear psw point 3, clear psw point 4. Okay, so these instructions we can use. Okay, so like this, so this will select the bank 0. So when you type this, so this selects bank 0. Okay, then we load the data, move move r1 comma hash 01h. So we load only a 01h into all r2 comma hash 01h, and we'll use only 4 registers. Move r3 comma hash 01h. If you want to change the bank, again I need to write. So for bank 1, so you can look at the for bank 1, what is my count? rs1 will should be 0 and rs0 should be 1. rs0 means 0.3 should be 1. So 0.3 we need to set and clear 0.4. So set b psw 0.3 and clear psw 0.4. Then bank 1 gets selected. So this means what? So we are selecting bank 1. Sorry. This selects bank 1. Okay, so now whatever I am loading, move r0 comma hash 01 again h, move r1 comma hash 01 h. Okay, sufficient. Now I need to select bank 2. So for that I need to clear psw 0.3 and set b psw 0.4. Then again I will load move r0 comma hash 01h, move r1 comma hash 01h. Okay, so same value I am loading. And for bank 3, so this will select bank, this selects bank 2. And for bank 3 we need to set all the things, set b psw 0.3 and set b psw 0.4. Then this selects bank 4, bank 3, sorry. Then whatever I am writing, like move r0 comma hash 01h and move r1 comma hash 01h. Okay, then we'll end. We'll see whether it's going to change the banks or not. So I need to add this particular code. I have already added it. I will compile zero warnings. So 38 bytes of a code is available. Now I'll go to this on a RAM as well. So okay, after this, so the disassembly mode will open. Okay, so here we have the register banks on this side and we have a memory. So I will maximize this as well. Okay, the compiler memory, under a memory block, if I need to view a memory I colon 0x00. So this is the internal memory. Okay, so I can simulate it now. So I can put F11. You can observe the PSW status. Okay, PSW. Clear means bank 0 gets selected. Whatever you are loading, that will be loaded at 00. Okay, 00. Then now I am loading at this. So you can observe the RS here. RS is 1, bank 1 is selected. Okay, now whatever I am loading, that is 01, will be loaded at what's the memory location for bank 1. So you can observe the memory location here. For the bank 1, 08. So it has to load at the 08 memory location. So you can observe this location is a 08 location. Okay, you can put it here, you will get it here. So this is first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, seventh and eighth. So 08 location R0, R1 is again here. Then clear the bank 2 gets selected. You can observe RS is 2. Now whatever I am loading, that will be loaded at that particular memory location. Then bank 3 gets selected. Whatever I am loading, that will be loaded at 18th, because still 1F 17 we have the bank 2 and then we have 18. So like this we can simulate the code. Right, we'll come back again and we'll see another problem statement. So this is about loading how into the bank 3. Now we'll go forward, go to the next. Write a program to load 05H into all the registers of bank 3. So all the registers of bank 3 means we need to write the code like for this. So how we can write the code for this? So very first thing is org 4 times 0h sjump to main. So I'll write main here. So I need to use a bank 3. So very first instruction I need to use as setb psw.3 as setb psw.4. Again I need to load 05H into all the registers. So I can take that data into accumulator, move a comma hash 05H, then I can write move R0 comma A. So already I have selected the bank 3. Then move R1 comma A, move R2 comma A, move R3 comma A, move R4 comma A. So this continues. Move R5 comma A, move R6 comma A, and move R7 comma A, and then end. So this will load all the values 05H into bank 3 registers, all the registers of bank 3. This program will work. Alright, so have you understood this? So only the thing we need to write this set bit command for selecting that respective bank. Alright, so this we have completed. Now we'll have another example. Copy all the memory locations from bank 0 to bank 3. So again the same thing, if you want to copy the contents from bank 0 to bank 3, so every time we need to select the bank. For this, what is the logic I am going to tell you. So this is the program for you guys. So I will tell you the logic. org 4 times 0h sjump to main. So I will write a main here. First thing is I need to copy the contents of bank 0. So where you can copy the contents, you can copy into the A register or you can copy into the B register. So first thing I need to clear CLR PSW.3, CLR PSW.4, so that bank 0 gets selected. I need to copy the content. Now how I can copy this? So I can copy, that is move A comma R0. So means what? R0 content will be copied into A. Alright, so the thing is I have copied it. Again I need to load this A contents into bank 3's R0. So for that I need to write setb psw.3 setb psw.4. Then again I need to write move R0 comma A. So what this means? This copies from bank 0 and this loads at bank 3 or 0. Okay, so this thing is possible with this. So we can continue this. So for simplicity, you can reduce the program using a loops. So still loops are not covered. So we'll see again the same program using the loops. But currently with this particular knowledge, we can write this code, and the code is lengthy. So to reduce that, we need to use a loop. We need to use an increment operator. We need to use decrement operator, and then use this particular thing. Okay. So we'll end up with the session here. Thank you for listening. Okay. If you have any queries or any questions, you can join me on Microsoft Teams. If you are not subscribed my channel yet, please hit the subscribe icon for next upcoming updates. So thank you for listening. Thank you. Have a nice day.